Yeah, LaMelo. Why are you taking out the other team's best player? Anyways, while it would be fun to debate why the Hornets still are somehow alive to make the playoffs, we have more important things to do because the draft is less than a week away, and yeah, we haven't even gotten to running backs yet. So probably should get into that. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope you guys are ready for our 2026 NFL Draft running back prospect rankings. This is by far the shortest group, not by far, the shortest group of guys we'll be going through. I'm not going to lie to y'all, this running back class is kind of awful. I mean, we got one guy for sure, but the rest, it's not the greatest. There is some propaganda going around that this running back class isn't even that bad. I'm going to put it this way. Other than, I guess, Jadarian Price, there really isn't a running back that I take really until the 4th round. You could justify some guys in the 3rd round, but realistically, guys, this running back class is very weak, and that's why I only have 8 guys that I'll be talking about. But I will say, all these guys I'm talking about, even these 3 honorable mentions, are still guys that I'm intrigued by and I think could definitely turn into something. But at the same time, this is not a good running back class. Just telling you all that right now. It's the weakest part. That's why, again, we only have 8 guys here. Again, wide receiver, that's a loaded group this year. I wouldn't say it's not. This is a good word. At the top, it's not like insane, but it's very deep receiver class. So we'll definitely get into that. Hopefully by Sunday, quarterbacks. Hopefully by like Monday or Tuesday, we'll see. That shouldn't take too long either, because again, there's not many good quarterbacks in this class either, as y'all have definitely heard about. And then mock draft, final one, will be out by Wednesday. And then it's draft time, and I'll talk about all the shenanigans that go on probably by Sunday. But yeah, that's the schedule for this next coming week. Again, it's NFL draft season, guys. Then we really get in the swing of things with the schedule and stuff. But anyways, yes, first honorable mention, guys, here at running back is Rasul Faison. He again played at Utah State, South Carolina. He played it wasn't HBC. What the hell am I talking about? He played JUCO for a couple years. And then, he transferred to Utah State, had 2 very solid seasons. 2024 was probably arguably, other than Genty, the best running back in the Mountain West. Again, that's a little bit subjective there, but I will say that. He was fantastic there. Last year at South Carolina, he wasn't even their starter, guys, but I will say, this is a dude that has some pretty damn high upside. I understand he's hella unk, but this is a guy, he can really get going, and I'm not going to lie, he's probably had, I'm going to say top 5 contact balance in this year's draft. There aren't many running backs that I look at in this year's class that kind of have the projectability that he has. At the same time, though, he's a frustrating player to watch because of the fact that his vision is not natural. He can still, again, see things develop pretty well. That's just something, again, he can do. But if we're just talking about his overall vision, it's just not really there. And then also the fact that he's unk, again, that just doesn't really play well with me. And also the fact that last year he kind of sucked. That's a very common, again, thing here when we get to some of these other running backs. Nick Singleton. But anyways, yeah, that's Rasul Faison for you. He's got legit speed. He's going to be a fun player to watch in the league. It's just the fact of, does he even get a shot to start? But for me, again, a lot of people, I don't even think I have him in the top, what are we going to say, 15 running backs in this year's class. For me, he is, I think, 10, something like that. It's close. But, yeah, I don't think he's in, this isn't in any particular order. So, yeah. What do you mean 2025? Yeah, there we go. Anyways, Jamari, no one really knew who he was going into 2026. What the hell, 2025, my bad. But basically what happened with him is, he came out of JUCO. He even played, he played Division II. What the hell am I talking about? Division I AA. He had a couple of very solid games in 2024 that really caught a lot of again Power 4 conferences' eyes. And then kind of going into last year, there was a lot of talk again by people that wanted to kind of get to it. This is a guy who could definitely be a big time playmaker. Not only was he that, he was arguably Virginia's best player last year on offense. The biggest problem I have with him is the fact that he doesn't really give me the dynamic, there's 3 guys in the backfield next to me, how am I going to make this work sort of thing. I think if he goes into a system where he is not the priority of sorts, or again, really just isn't a fit, it's going to be hard to see this guy being successful. At the same time, though, he was very productive at Virginia last year, and he really was their only answer whenever that offense got into trouble. He is a very fun guy to watch. A lot of people have him RB5 or 6. For me, he is just outside the top 8 because of the fact that I don't really think he has that figure it out sort of ability there. What the heck? There we go. Now we got Devon Claiborne out of Wake Forest. This guy's an absolute tank. Again, we'll see this. didn't have his best year in his draft year here. 2022 he didn't play. 2023 he was low-key atrocious. I remember that game. They played UConn. It was 2024 even. But really up until that game, he really wasn't that great. Then he started to get hot. But we'll just say this. As a sophomore, again, kind of the starter at Wake Forest, really didn't do a ton. They kind of threw the ball out that year. So I'm not going to really get too into it. All you guys need to know, this is another ACC guy that I'm not really too fond of. But the same thing about him is, objectively, last season was a worse year than 2024, and it's really because of the fact that he wasn't really getting the looks that I think he should have been gotten, and a lot of these power run sort of concepts they were trying to fit him into just weren't working. I don't want to say it's like who's the Jets dude? I'm actually just blanking. Allen, there we go. Very similar fit there again, Wake Forest. He probably should have transferred. But anyway, Demond Claiborne's an absolute tank. He's going to be fun to watch in the league. It's just if he's going to be anything better than, a solid backup. So, yeah, that's Demond Claiborne for you. Let's get into our top 8.
There's Le'Veon Moss, and A&M just keeps rolling.
And the first running back we'll talk about today is Le'Veon Moss out of Texas A&M. This is a guy that really never was all that productive at A&M, but he is a guy that has flashed some very, very, very big-time playability that a lot of NFL teams that I think are going to be willing to take a chance on him later in the rounds. I'm going to preface this right away. This is not a guy coming into the draft that is, again, really the most proven tape, but he's still a guy that flashes things that I don't think a lot of other guys, that a lot of NFL teams that I think are going to be very, very, are going to see, again, a lot of value in, despite maybe not really translating to, again, true production. With that said, though, he didn't play as a freshman. Pretty commonality here. 2023, honestly, guys, I probably watched, I'm going to say maybe 20 carries from that year. Again, he was pretty gimpy. I really liked his jump cut, but again, that really came out in 2024. His best year in college football, but again, the biggest commonality here is he hasn't really been healthy for any of these seasons. But again, still highly productive that year. Again, out of the backfield, I think this is definitely his most capable season we saw out of him, but at the same time, still really was never used there. 2025 saw his season come to an end. I think it was like an ankle injury or something like that. Nothing too major, but athletically, he looked a little bit off, despite his numbers obviously took a little bit of a dip too. But still, he would have probably gone on his way to maybe a 1,000-yard season, a little bit of a stretch. But again, with how his season was going, definitely again right before he got injured, he was probably on track to maybe get to 1,000 yards. But still, again, after 2024 not really being the main guy, 2025 he was again when he was on the field. And overall, kind of a disconnect with what you're going to see there. Again, Marcel Reed being the quarterback definitely I think hurt him overall. But still, yeah, again, I was happy with what I saw in 2025. A little bit more consistent than 2024, despite maybe the production still not being there. He had, again, rough first couple games there. But again, we look at Le'Veon overall here as a prospect. He's not a guy that's going to wow you with his speed. He can pull away a breakaway run. He definitely has that second gear. It's just the fact that I don't really think he accelerates to an extent to where that actually, again, has immense value, and really just the measurable speed with him isn't really there. And again, I think he doesn't really escape out of space the greatest either. His vision's a 92, though. Despite him not really, again, showing this as well, if we're talking about a sudden movement and him just seeing something open up before it opens up, it happens on tapes at times where I'm like, yeah, not many guys are able to do this. I think that's where I'm going to say it's an elite trait of his, despite not, it just not being very consistent, or kind of being a rare occurrence. But when it definitely shows up, it's something to take note of. His power is an 86. This isn't really just coming off. Again, we talk about, again, a guy being able to not only roll over on consistently, not really talking about great here. We're talking about, again, how is his impact when a guy tackles him. This is not a guy you can just you can kind of just wrap up on. He's got a rubbery waist to where it's very, very hard if you don't have a sort of momentum or leverage on him. It's hard to be able to, again, kind of, again, withstand whatever pressure he puts on you. Pause. But anyways, jump cut gave 75. This is a huge part of running back's game. Again, it's the start of any run. I mean, what I see is it the most explosive? Is it the most decisive? No. But is he able to, do something off of it? Yeah, that's really what I want to see. So that's good. I don't care about his elusiveness. He's not going to have to use that in space really at all. That's kind of where this comes in, the speed translation there. Very good short yardage conversions. This isn't, again, the same thing as power. This is being, again, under pressure. Are you able to make the right play? Are you able to roll over a tackle? Are you able to break a tackle in that situation? Yes, he is. He's good. Very consistently. It's rare where you see him get stuffed. Hands are definitely not great. Again, like I said, he's not a very capable receiver. His route running is atrocious. It's really just because it's limited, to be honest with you guys. And in the red zone, he's a guy you're going to be asking to pound the ball in the end zone. That's really about it. And even then, I don't know if he's a guy you really want to call a true goal line back either. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. He's objectively bad in the red zone, at least statistically. Anyways, break a tackle. Yes, he can break a tackle really well. Again, anything below the weights, if you're not, again, if you don't have momentum going towards him, he will break that tackle. Again, if you play a high power level on him, maybe you get lucky, but still, most of the time, no. His patience is a 95. He's a guy, I don't want to say like Le'Veon Bell, but perfect guy to compare him to in that sense. He's a guy that's going to wait in the backfield, use his jump cut to figure it out there. Pass pro is not good. He's just got bad technique. I don't even know what to tell you guys. That'll get fixed. He's not very explosive. Again, he can break away a big run at times, but it's not consistent enough. His acceleration is really solid, though. That's what I'll say. Again, he doesn't really get out into space great, but again, we're talking about being able to, again, be decisive and make that, again, despite it being, when you're patient, you got to have good acceleration, because if you're not, you're going to get knocked down, because you're not, again, you might anticipate what's going to go on, but you're not able to, again, explode out of it and take advantage of it. He's got solid acceleration in that sense. Efficiency, I gave an 82. Again, this is a really, again, statistically driven stat, but even then, you watch this process, it's very, very, again, constant what you're seeing. It's just sometimes there are a little bit of awareness there, but yeah, he's a very efficient back. Improvisation, I gave 67. Nice. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Athleticism, 72. Measurably, he's kind of, again, at least by RAS, he's kind of just there. That's where I see him. It doesn't really pop off on tape, anything like that. Potential give 73. Should be, again, very reliable backup. But yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, my comparison, because, I mean, he's a starter, but, you know. But anyway, 73.3. Not a bad showing for Le'Veon, for a lot of people who don't even project him as a top 100 pick. But anyways, that's what I got.
Randall a chance. And he can sprint. There goes Randall. They're just trying to run the clock out.
And the second guy we are looking at is a very unique guy in Adam Randall, who, not really, he's not that unique, but he switched from receiver to running back after not really playing, well, really at all, for, no, he was fine. But anyways, very, very unique sort of transition here in his senior season to kind of save any sort of draft stock. But 2022 at Clemson, as a freshman, he didn't really play a lot. He struggled getting separation. 2023, production-wise, was his best season, but that year he still wasn't getting open a lot. And then 2024, kind of a breaking point. They kind of used him last couple games of the season out of the backfield, and they're like, crap, this guy's pretty good. So, again, he spent the entire 2024 offseason. No, 2025 offseason. My bad. Again, even in the spring game, you saw him. He had a natural feel as a running back. With that said, though, making the transition from receiver to running back in your senior year is no small feat, and we definitely saw that on tape. There were definitely some times in terms of his, again, very limited concepts, really Dabo was able to design with him, because, again, a lot of these under center sort of, again, patient looks you need to see out of a running back weren't really there. That was, again, a big constant on tape. With that said, though, as a receiving back, maybe he wasn't as dynamic as you were hoping, but he still showed the reliability and the versatility that, again, is going to kind of make him a very valuable guy to this class and kind of separate him from some of these other guys that are absolutely more experienced than him. That's the biggest thing with Adam, though. But very, very fun season. He was obviously, I mean, other than Antonio Williams and some other guys, was obviously Clemson's most valuable, or really just most dependable skills player last year, especially with Kate Klubnik having a kind of an atrocious season overall. For Adam Randall, though you look at him, again, obviously he has really good speed. I don't, again, at least for a running back, I don't see, again, if you watch his tape as a receiver, there was definitely a lack of threat with him. And I think a lot of corners, again, took advantage of that. They weren't really worried about him, you know, oh, shoot, one misstep, they're gone. But as a running back, this was something I think that he was able to kind of take advantage of, especially out of the backfield. Again, that kind of like showed up. But as a true running back, he's not going to blow the doors off you every play, but it's still really good speed. He definitely has the potential here to can use this to his advantage. Vision, I gave it 62. Again, he's just not. It's just not his natural position. It's going to take a while for him to get here, but still very solid. Again, growth throughout the season. Power, honestly, just average. I don't really see this as much of a issue for his game just because of the fact that he is able to roll over and be able to, again, make it hard for guys to tackle him in the first place, especially when we're talking about a yak threat, which I think was huge. So, not really that big of a concern for me. Jump cut's really solid. That's probably his best. I would just say this is his most talented skill. That makes sense. Anyways, though, he's not elusive. Again, like I say, there's no wiggle to his game. Grit, I gave a 66 because he definitely at times struggled to do this, but I will say in these third and one situations, more too often than that he was okay, but again, it's kind of an inconsistent thing with him. Obviously, very capable receiver out of the backfield. His route running will be the best in this year's class. At running back, it's not even really that close. He can actually. His red zone versatility is obviously very high too. Despite him maybe not being a true impactful guy at the goal line, he's still going to be a guy you're going to kind of play around with and even still a threat for that. Breaking a tackle. This is kind of tough for me because he's a guy who kind of like slips out of tackles and more of actually like throwing a guy off, which is kind of it's a wary place for him to be. That's kind of where I have that there. Patience is a 69. Honestly, not even that bad. His pass protection is atrocious. You can go on a lot of things with that, but simply put, he gets knocked back a lot. Explosiveness is an 80. Again, I think his speed, I think, plays in this tool a lot, but at the same time, again, if he sees a big hole, he's not going to miss it. Acceleration, I gave 70. It's not great. Again, really in his routes, that's kind of where that shows up, so I guess that's kind of the one knock I have on him with that. Even then, he obviously is a really good route runner in the backfield. Efficiency is 73. Honestly, pretty good. Improv, I gave a 68. Not really too much to talk about there. There are times, though, he does have a natural ability to kind of think creatively or even critically in certain spots. How do I get out of the situations? Really just not putting myself in a bad situation. Obviously, a really good athlete. I think it's potential 78. He's a guy that could be very, very valuable. Caleb Mullings is a comparison because it really just truly is a runner. They're identical. Really just their feel in the backfield is very, very similar. Obviously, as a receiver, it differs entirely, but at the same time, you wanted again, spitting image of a runner. Again, that's what you get with him. But 74.3 for Adam. He's a very fun guy to look at.
Boy, nice little stutter step again by Washington across midfield. He's down the far sideline and pushed out of bounds.
Alright guys, now let's get on to Nick Singleton. He was obviously a very highly touted guy prior to this past season. He put up 1,100 yards. It was an absolute brick house in 2024 for Penn State. But honestly, guys, last season was about as bad as it could have gotten. He did score 13 touchdowns, but it really just felt like the explosiveness was taking it completely out of him. And any of the success he had behind that offensive line in 2024 was really just gone. It just didn't seem like he trusted anyone. Vega Ione, I will say, did his best to still kind of create some sort of feel for Nick, but any sort of rhythm he established was very short-lived, and any of the vision upside we saw in 2024 was, again, like I said, sucked the life out of him last year. And simply put, it was an atrocious year that couldn't have been had by Nick this past year. I'm just going to say it. He completely blew his draft stock, guys. Like, Nick, bro, what the hell are you doing? Still, though, he did do some decent things last year. But from overall as a prospect, he obviously has a borderline elite speed in this year's class. He just breaks away very often because of the fact that if there's any sort of advantage, tactical advantage on the edge, he is going to bring that upfield, and he's going to accelerate into a position to where he's going to blow you open. Pause again. But all you need to know is he obviously has elite speed at this position. Vision is a big problem. Even a lot last year. This is a guy that is a rhythm runner. If he doesn't have any, if he can't see what's going to happen, it's hard for him to kind of just accept it. And for that reason, he ran into a lot of blocks last year, guys. His power is definitely a little bit more limited than I think I initially thought, especially last year. There were just definitely some plays where he just got completely tossed, and you're thinking, like, bro, you got to have more physicality than that. Jump code, I gave a 62. Never been a big thing of him. Honestly, guys, last year in some situations, it was just him getting stuck in the mud. Even in the Oregon game, that was a big issue with that offense in that game. Elusiveness is a 61. He doesn't really juke you out, per se. He kind of just blows by you. And I think some sort of hesitancy into his game would definitely be a big addition. So this is kind of an upside sort of trait here. I don't care about his grit or his hands or his route running. They're all solid. I mean, again, that's why he played a lot. In the red zone, this is probably my favorite thing about him. He's a guy that you can put in really any different set, and he'll still be able to give you, again, solid production. For a defense, it's very, very hard to plan for that. So that's something that's a huge value plus side for him. He doesn't break tackles at the clip that I think some people would think. But, yeah, again, really just statistically and on tape, it's not a big part of his game. His patience is really bad. This is where I'm talking about the vision. He kind of just runs into guys because he's not really, again, trying to, like, again, see what's going to happen here. And this really just comes down to trust there. His pass pro, though, is special, honestly. Again, I don't know why I traded this as special. It's your best trait, basically. But, yeah, his pass position is really good, technically sound. I mean, there's times where you can't even shed off him. It's just the fact that, again, really, the biggest thing, he doesn't get knocked back. And for a lot of running backs, that's what I want to see. He's pretty explosive. Again, this is really just consistency in terms of off of a volume thing. But at the same time, he's not a guy that I think is going to be this explosive in the NFL. But again, still, off the tape, I'm going to say really good. His acceleration efficiency is also pretty solid. I think this efficiency definitely took a dip. It would have been toward a 90 because of how reliable he was in 2023 and 2024. But again, last year, the numbers just weren't there. His improvisation is really a big problem of his. If he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to, consistently be thought of as a starter, he's got it. He's got to be able to think more out of the box. Athleticism, I gave an 81. I said 72 for potential. Again, this is just a guy who had a really bad season last year, and I definitely on crossroads with him. But 76.4 overall for Nick Singleton. We have Lamar Miller as a comparison. And yeah, with that said, let's get into a couple of guys that hopefully had a better year than them this past year.
They'll hand it off. Singleton gets it. Left side, another huge hole. Singleton off to the races. He's down the sideline.
Let's get into another unk. That is Mike Washington out of Arkansas, and he had a career year last year after having kind of a wishy-washy first couple years of Buffalo, where he really never broke any big runs, and that was kind of the big complaint about him. He was just kind of a boring back there that kind of would have gotten lost in the sauce in the Matt conversation there. But transferred to New Mexico State in 2024, was very, very good. He had a very efficient season. Then last year at Arkansas completely blew up and put everyone on notice because he was an absolute tank. I'm not going to lie, guys, it was very rare to not see him break the first tackle out coming at him if he at least had momentum. And I can kind of heads up to that Arkansas coaching staff to kind of put him in a spot where he was a lot more decisive as a runner and did a lot more damage than I think he did again in his first on his first 2 teams. But yeah, huge big time season for Mike Washington last year. Really propelled him into this spot. 6'2", 205 though. Again, very compact build there. For Mike, though, as a running back, he's definitely a little taller than average. Nothing insane, but again, definitely a little taller. And for that reason, I think his speed is definitely, again, a big talking point of his because he isn't a guy that's going to have actually as long of a stride as you might think, but he's still a guy that's able to kind of deviate on his kind of progression downfield, and for that reason, I think this speed is definitely very, again, big for him in the future. But anyways, other important talking notes here, his jump cut's really good. It's just smooth, and it's very rare you see him lose traction on the run. That's really about it, though, because, I mean, there's not really any sort of variance to it that he could, again, be something he could push it up there. But other than that, guys, again, the big difference between the reason he emerged as a starter there at Arkansas last year was because of the fact that every single short yard situation in the red zone, he just got in the damn red zone or picked the damn first down. Again, we talk about a guy in the NFL that will have a role. It's going to be him. I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious. But, again, if he gets a decent block, he's going to pick up the damn first down. His hands are, he drops some passes for sure. But I think this is more the fact that I think his, the fluidness in which he kind of, again, goes to becoming a runner is definitely not great. We'll have to talk about this a lot more with receivers because it's a huge part of what they do. But for him, that's really an issue for me. But it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. His route running is very limited. Swing routes, I don't know, maybe a wheel here and there. Nothing insane. His red zone versatility is an 85 because the fact that you have a huge threat with him at the goal line, but he's still capable as a blocker to where you can kind of figure something out there. And the reason I say he's a blocker is because watch Taylor Green, guys. Anyways, though, yeah, he can break a tackle. He's a freaking brick. Patience is a 65 because there are times where he runs into his own guy simply put because he thinks, or not simply put, because he thinks he can just, find his way through the play instead of just waiting because then the block would have developed and he would have picked up 5 extra yards. Anyways, though, his pass protection is probably, again, it's just not good. He gets knocked back. And a lot of times he kind of misses his assignment, which is probably the worst thing you can do. Or this comes in thing. I think he could become a decent blocker, but I mean, it's ugly, guys. The reason I said he can block is because, yeah, as a run blocker, watch out. But anyways, explosiveness is a 77. It's not often when it happens. It's very, very, pronounced. Acceleration is an 86. He gets going. It's just the fact that he needs a little space. But still, yeah, he can really get moving. Efficiency, I give a 73. Very good improv here. We're talking about a guy in the backfield. If you need him to get back to the line of scrimmage, he's the guy to ask. Athleticism, I give an 89. Really just an explosive athlete overall. And also a guy, if we're talking about kind of a well-rounded guy, he's definitely there for that. Again, 82 for potential. This is a guy that could definitely turn into a dependable starter. I go with Tavius Murray's comparison, though, because he's a guy that I think has, again, very similar explosive, really, again, nature there. 76.6, though, for Mike Washington. Solid showing here.
That'll be on 2nd down and 10 with a hole. Jeremiyah Love, major speed across midfield. Will they catch him? They will.
Now on to a guy that finished 3rd in Heisman in 2025. That was Jeremiyah Love out of Notre Dame. A lot of talk from the big national media about what is going to happen with him at the top of this year's draft. I'm not going to be the one to speculate on that. That's we'll do that next Wednesday. But obviously, he was the most productive running back in the country the past 2 seasons, and he is an absolute monster, averaging 6.9. Nice yards per carry the past 2 seasons. I will say his offensive line was a lot better, so that's probably the reason his numbers are this good. I'm joking. He is a generational talent in a lot of ways. If we're talking about just true pro readiness is probably the best way to put it. Honestly, guys, he probably should have came out of the draft last year. Didn't end up happening, but yeah, Notre Dame is a very good running back group coming in this year and the NFL this year. But yes, for Jeremiyah, again, a lot of people, I haven't really gotten to my number 1 prospect yet in these rankings. Across the board, if you look at when I reveal my big board next Wednesday, but yeah, he'll probably be atop of it, as you guys will see in a moment. He's got special speed. I mean, he just breaks away, and you're not going to catch him sort of speed there. And even on, again, the 40 was perfect. I mean, he's just a legit guy in this sense. Again, there's really no other way to put it. I mean, is it his best trait? No, but he's not a guy you're going to chase down. His vision's very, very good. He is very patient, but I think it's more the fact that he understands what the blocks are going to look like to develop. It's a lot of patience. Not a lot of patience. A lot of vision comes into the idea that you kind of can anticipate what the block's going to look like and kind of know that there are times where this isn't going to look right and I have to act quickly to be able to make up for that falteration. And that is something you see a lot on tape with him. And that's really the reason you rarely, and I mean rarely, see him lose yardage. Powers of 79. Not a huge thing with him. He's more of a guy that's going to kind of try to make things happen than actually, downhill, I'm going to run over you sort of thing. His jump cut's an 81. Honestly, guys, it's not something that I really see as super flashy. It's not going to blow up a play. This is kind of where I see a guy like Saquon Barkley and him differ overall. Saquon's jump cut was his entire game, which, again, you could argue is a weakness, but that's kind of what separates Jeremiyah Love than I think a guy like him. Good or bad way, you can look at it either way, but for him, it's kind of like, it's not something, it doesn't like start the play for him sort of thing. Elizabeth's a 110, open field, again, tight spaces, he's going to wiggle past y'all. And yeah, he has a very diverse bag, if we're going to say. Grit's 85. Again, pretty consistent here. Again, he doesn't really get in a lot of situations where this is a big issue of his. I think this could definitely be a little bit of improvement. But yeah, really good here overall. Hands are awesome. He just doesn't drop a pass, and he has a really good catch radius, so I think that's where that kind of comes in. Route running is a 93. Very, very versatile guy at the backfield. Just the fact that I don't think he really has, again, a true receiver route tree, which I think is the big difference there. But still, obviously, he's an elite route runner. 110 for red zone versatility. I mean, honestly, guys, if you going into next year, if there's one guy in the NFL I want to have, other than obviously the best guys in the league, in the red zone, it's this dude. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want with him. Break a tackle, it's 100. This is where I think a lot of people don't understand what kind of separates a good running back, which we don't really have in this year's draft, and an elite running back, or not great and an elite. A lot of great running backs in the coming out of the draft are very dominant in a certain area, and that's kind of what they do. But you get up to this kind of elite running back prospect in like kind of top 10 discussion, those guys always are able to break tackles at an elite clip. You can't be in again, it's very rare you see an NFL running back. Again, if we look at the top 10 guys in the NFL, you might say one or two of those guys aren't elite tackle breakers, but if you can't break a tackle and you want to be said to be an elite running back, it just doesn't work. So, well, I don't think he's like some generational guy here. He's not like Ashton Genty last year. He still breaks tackles at a clip that is well above the range of any of these other guys. Patience is a 115. It's his best trait. I mean, he waits long times. I talk about Le'Veon Moss here. He's a step up. Pass pro is not much to talk about there. Still competent, though. He's not getting absolutely destroyed. Explosiveness is a 105. He breaks more explosive plays than any other guy in this class. All you need to know, he's a home run hitter every single other play. With that said, though, he's not Chris Johnson coming out of the draft there. That's something I want to preface. They're close, but he's not Chris Johnson. 88 on the acceleration. He does take a little bit to get going, but again, there is still a snap into the play for him. Efficiency is a 90. You could argue it's way higher than this. I think in the NFL there's going to be a little bit of him, though, getting knocked around a little bit. And not knocked around. He will get slipped. He will sub up a little bit. I think it's going to be pretty similar in terms of efficiency to Breece Hall, who's obviously still very efficient, but he's a guy who kind of gets knocked around a little bit in the backfield at times. Improv's a 110. He does really whatever he wants in the backfield. Athleticism is a 96. Obviously a premier athlete at this position. Again, there's no really, again, we talk about being a generational talent running back. You kind of got to be an elite athlete. And obviously the potential's highest guy is him. I said Jamal Charles in my comparison because they are really very, very similar runners in the fact that they wait their time. That's what I'll say. And they're also really explosive. 92.7 though for Jeremiyah Love. I'd be shocked if I get a guy higher than that in terms of the overall grade.
Back to Jonah Coleman. Coleman breaks through across midfield, a stiff arm, and Coleman is going to get deep into Indiana.
All right, guys, we're going to be definitely a little bit quicker on Jonah Coleman, but he is an absolute beast out of Washington. Last year, similar to Nick Singleton. I will say, though, he became much more of a punishing runner than he was in 2024, because 2024 was really about him being a very efficient. I'm decisive, jump cut, get there, I get tackled, whatever. But 2025 was a little bit more of him being a dominant player. But there was definitely a lack of, really, I don't even say rhythm, a lack of continuity with what we were seeing out of him. It was kind of a jumbled off year, but at the same time, with DeMond Williams, a quarterback, a much more passing-centric offense, he still was able to find his spot and still be a very valuable player of their offense and arguably have a better season than he had in 2024, where he was very efficient and really most of the season was their only solid enough guy on offense. Mostly because Denzel Boston wasn't great yet. But anyways, first 2 years at Arizona, really wasn't their number one guy. I still think that 2023 season was an outlier in terms of his numbers. It was really just because that offensive line was gross. And also, you know if Fafita was actually a good quarterback. But anyways, yes. Last year was kind of a unique thing because we've seen 2 versions of Jonah Coleman. I kind of want to, you mold the 2 together. That's kind of what an NFL team's probably going to be looking for there. But you look at Jonah overall, his prospect, very balanced. He's not a guy that you're going to look at in terms of speed really at all. I don't want to say like Alvin Kamara, but no one's going to confuse Alvin Kamara with freaking Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, in terms of that part of this. But tape, never really the fastest guy. I mean, there are times where he can kind of explode out of a play and beat a guy to the sideline, but really never was consistent enough to kind of, project as anything to really until average. So again, if you want to see he's got average speed, go ahead, but it's definitely not a big strength of his game. Vision solid. Not really much to talk about there though, because there are times where he kind of stutters and looks a little bit indecisive, to be honest with you guys. Very powerful back though. As we're talking into last year, he was kind of a bowling ball of sorts. Even though he wasn't able to kind of explode upfield, he still was able to get down, again, through a hole and still be able to, break a tackle out of it. A lot of arm tackles. This is a guy going to the NFL where you look at an NFL team, again, if you talk about a power run scheme, he's a guy you don't have to really worry about getting tripped up really until like 2 or 3 yards downfield, like really with just yards before after contact sort of thing. Jump cut, I gave it 76. It's solid. It's a lot more clean, but at the same time, there's a little bit of shimmy to it, which I kind of like. At the same time, it's like, well, what are you doing, dude? He's not an elusive back whatsoever. You get him in the space, he's going to definitely get knocked over. Or, get a little bit ugly. But do your thing. It doesn't have to be pretty. Grit is an 89. That's kind of a hard thing to kind of look at because of the fact that, again, a lot of his success with being a physical runner is being downhill. When you get to him into a situation where he kind of stop up, it's where this thing kind of goes off. But at the same time, we look on tape, it's very rare that this isn't a big part of it. He doesn't drop any passes, but I'm telling you all right now, do not have him running any sort of complex routes. It's just not going to be part of his game. But yeah, he can be utilized a lot in terms of the screen game, like really, really well. Reds versatility is an 82. Get him going. He obviously can break a tackle better than... Not really as good as Jeremiyah Love, but it's pretty close. Again, like I said, he's a guy very dense. It's hard. It's very, very hard to, again, kind of get away with not having solid technique on him. Patience is an 83. Again, that's kind of where the jump cut stutter step comes in. It's a fun thing to talk about, but how much is that legitimately him kind of reading out the play? Pass pro, I don't really care about with him. Explosiveness, like I said, if you're not fast, it's kind of hard to be explosive. There's some guys who get away with it. Solid in terms of efficiency. I think this is something that's very projectable. I don't really think he'll ever be a guy that you look at as a guy who's going to average over 5 yards per carry, but still very consistent number here. And athletically, he's just a kind of more bulky guy at this point. Jesus. He's not going to be a guy that's going to kind of I'm going to out-talent you sort of thing. It's more of I'm going to run over you. So, very similar in that sense. But yeah, 74 for the potential. I really like Dave Montgomery's comparison. He runs over dudes the exact same way. 76.8 though for Jonah Coleman. Really fun dude.
Against Michigan State in 2023. They run reverse. Johnson behind Harburg. Touchdown.
I haven't talked about a guy that's kind of blew himself to the combine. Pause. But I definitely talked about some guys that didn't really have the greatest draft year seasons, and Emmett Johnson, he's about both of those. Yeah, Emmett Johnson for me is a guy that should be the second running back in this year's class, just off of the fact that he is not an easy guy to tackle, but at the same time, he just wasn't really all of that. And I'm joking. Last season he was really freaking good. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. He was pretty damn good. But yeah, he sucked in the combine. Oof. The athleticism sort of profile there kind of fell off a cliff. But yeah, anyways, first years in Nebraska, was kind of in a timeshare sort of role, or platoon, or whatever you want to call it. He wasn't a legit guy. 2025, he was damn near the entire Nebraska offense. He had an absolutely mammoth season. He was hyper efficient. He was an absolute tank. And even as a receiver, guys, he was really, really good. So, well, I'm not gonna say I was too thrilled by the tape. I think there was a little bit of inflated yards with him last year. At the same time, he was a very explosive guy that consistently showed really good potential going into the NFL. So I gotta see that from Emmett Johnson. Phenomenal season last year, but at the same time, these numbers are a little bit inflated. But anyways, you think why inflated? I mean, guys, let's be honest. If you're on outside zone, then run an inside look, again, every other play, and, you're getting blown out by 30, yeah, he's going to put up some numbers. Anyway, Emmett Johnson, though, his speed is dead average for me. I think some people might have it a little higher. A lot of people have it even lower because, again, the 40 and all that. But on tape, he's got that, again, consistently shows he's able to, his speed is definitely functional, but it's still not something that's going to completely separate him out of the play, which I think is definitely something where it could be a limiting factor of his. With that said, though, his vision is probably the best in this year's draft overall. I mean, obviously, we'll look at Jeremiyah Love. He's in his own category. But, yeah, this is a guy that consistently predicts the play out very, very well, and he's very thoughtful in the decision he makes. It's not there's a lot that goes into it, which I think is very advanced for his position here. Power I give a 69, just really nice. You think this is a lot better with how he runs, but for the guy his size, it's not really something that he really has an advantage in. So that's kind of where it sits. His jump cut's the best. Yeah, it's the best here. It's very just honestly, like I said, it sets up the play. Like if you look at a guy like Saquon, when you're watching a play, really on tape, you're like, the jump cut. That's what gets it going. Emmett Johnson, the exact same way there. The other things aren't really too important with him. He's got really good hands. I honestly love his route running. All his routes are very dependent on the top of the route. And if he hits the brakes at the right time, it's going to lead to a lot of separation. It's going to be a big time play for him. Also, I really like his choice routes. Those are things that are running backs you just don't see a lot. But he's a guy who can really be able to use that. Obviously, he's not going to be a guy who can go head tops from out of the backfield, but this is a guy for sure that has very, very unique ability there. He breaks the tackle pretty well. Nothing to say that's crazy. Again, we get into the open field. There are times where he's going to get tripped up, and it's kind of annoying. But other than that, really nothing to talk about there. His patience, I think, coincides with him being a little bit more is kind of based on the part of the game. If he's kind of getting shut down, his patience goes out the window, but when he's kind of in a rhythm, this is a very prominent trait in his game. His pass protection is just kind of bad. The reason I say it's below average is because, honestly, his technique isn't that bad. He just knocked around a little bit. Definitely want to get that up a little bit. But anyways, he accelerates really well. I think his improv is honestly pretty advanced as well. But other than that, there's really not too much to talk about with him. Really looking at his back guys, he's a patient guy who's going to really set up his runs off the jump cut, which I think are huge. Again, very, very... Again, sustainable game plan there. 76 for the athleticism. I give him 80 for the overall potential. Again, he's going to be a guy that should be a reliable starter in the league. It's just if he really gets a chance to. Chase Edmonds is a comparison because they're like literally the exact same receiving backs. But yeah, 79.6 for Emmett Johnson. Let's get to the other Notre Dame running back.
And Jadarian Price is still on his feet. Still going. One guy to beat, and he takes him out.
While he was never a starter, I mean, whenever Jeremiyah Love came on the field, you're like, who the hell is this dude? That is Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. He is an absolute, freak. Best way to put it. He was, I wouldn't even say he was a change of pace back. He was just like, yeah, I'm Jeremiyah Love if I was fresh. Yeah, he was an absolute monster last year at Notre Dame. 674 yards and 130 carries. 11 tutties, obviously. But last year, I mean, it was basically like he kind of went out there when the defense was cooked, and he made them pay. He's like, you know what? If you can't stop him, you're definitely not going to be able to stop me either. So, yeah, while he never really got the true look as a number one running back, and really didn't take a lot of the hits, that's honestly a good thing for him. I think he's a guy that is going to be a very, very valuable player because of the fact that when he goes on the field, he is going to be a plus player every single play, which is huge. But, for him as a prospect, really nothing insane with the speed. He obviously is going to break away sometimes, but it's more the fact that I think he's kind of... There's a sense of urgency with how he runs. It's not really exactly because he plays faster than everyone else. Vision to 77. You know, I guess. He's a decisive runner. This is more of his kind of experience than anything. Powerful back for sure. Not, again, like I said, this is the big thing I think that really the one part of Notre Dame's running game last year that kind of hurt them in some ways. And again, you look at the A&M game. They didn't really running back that was a true, bowling ball per se. But still, 82. His jump cut's solid. Nothing really too insane, though, because there are times he, slips a little bit. Elusiveness, this we're talking about the difference between him and Jeremiyah Love. He's not going to, juke you out of your shoes or anything. Yeah, this is another thing. He gets stoned pretty consistently. I mean, maybe, normally, that too. But anyways, yeah, his grit is definitely questionable for sure. But again, as a receiving back, very versatile. This is kind of where, they were comfortable putting him in on third down. Res versatility is 98 too. I mean, again, even though he's not going to be a guy you want to put at the goal line consistently, he's more of a guy you're going to be looking at, like, saying, how can we align him to kind of put this defense in, like, what the hell is going on sort of situation. He breaks tackle really, really well. This is kind of where, again, he kind of fits. Same time, though, he doesn't always break a tackle. So I got to be a little bit cautious here, but this is, again, one of his better traits for sure. His pass protection is atrocious. That's why I wasn't on the field as much and didn't really transfer. He's pretty explosive, to say the least. I mean, like, one out of every 3 runs are going to be a big play. Acceleration game at 96. He can really get going once he, again, gets the opportunity to. Other than that, though, I will say his improv is kind of an underdeveloped trait of his, because he's never really in a situation where he goes in the field and you're not going to think, like, yeah, this can be a big run sort of thing. So we'll see how that kind of, again, impacts him going to the league. I give him an 82 for the athleticism. Really solid athlete. And overall, I see Dameon Pierce as the comparison. I will say Dameon Pierce definitely broke more tackles coming into the league, but they are very, very similar under-the-radar guys in terms of what they're going to be able to do in terms of the tempo going onto the field. But yeah, he almost cracked 80, 79.9 overall grade for Jadarian Price. But yeah, why did I do Pierce? What am I doing? Lock in, bro. But anyways, yeah, let's see what these overall rankings look like. Alright guys, overall rankings time. Again, we started out with Le'Veon Moss, very patient back, came out at 73.3. I think, again, a guy who a lot of people just didn't have a lot of stock into. And at least for me, I think he's a guy that, again, he has the patience that a lot of these other backs just don't have. And he has some of the other capabilities, and even as a not really as a receiver, but you get the point. He gives you certain aspects of his game that I think, again, really separate him from some of the other guys, even though realistically he's not a guy you look at as a blowaway prospect. Adam Randall, again, very unique guy. Again, transition from receiver to running back. Again, just very valuable skill set going to the NFL and still developing. So there's definitely, again, a high predictability with him there. But 74.3 for him. Mike Washington Jr., 76.6. Again, he absolutely blew up last year. What else do you want me to tell you? Nick Singleton, he did not blow up last year. He had a really bad year. He was projected going the year, again, arguably a first-round pick. But then after a bad season and a lot of other questionable things about his game, again, the tape kind of showing a lot of other bad stuff. Again, his draft stock's gone down a lot, but still hasn't completely, again, trashed his overall ranking there. Jeremiyah Love, 92.7. I mean, self-explanatory there. Jonah Coleman, 76.8. Really fun guy to look at. Not the fastest, not the most athletic, but he's going to be a guy that's going to blow your, like, knock you over on your butt if you're not paying attention. Emmett Johnson, 79.6. Very decisive runner, very smooth guy. It's very hard not to like the way he runs, on top of the fact that he is very, very valuable as a receiver out of the backfield, which gives him very high potential just because of the, but again, the fact that athletically he didn't really, again, show out the combine kind of hurt his overall stock. And then obviously Jadarian Price, 79.9 overall for there. He's getting an absolute boombox behind Jeremiyah Love, and he is just a guy who will be doing a lot of damage in the league. Now for these overall rankings, we look at these top 8 guys. Again, my number 1 guy was, again, Jeremiyah Love, 92.7 by a landslide. I was talking about there's a big drop-off here. But still, again, these aren't like horrible ratings I'm giving these guys. It's still, again, very respectable. It's just because of the fact that there isn't much depth to this running back class. I got to preface that for y'all. Jeremiyah Love's going to be a top 5 pick. We know that. Hopefully. He deserves to be. And then, like I said, Jadarian Price, no, why did I put Pierce? It's Price. He's a guy that I think deserves to maybe be picked at maybe the end of the second round, but after that, it's just kind of hard. It's kind of a struggle for me there. Then obviously the 3 honorable mentions, they're very close to the bottom here too, so just keep that in mind. But those are my 2026 NFL Draft running back rankings. Those are the top 8. I'll have the rest of them on the big board, which will probably be revealed for the mock draft next Wednesday. But yeah, get ready for receivers soon. Obviously, NBA, NHL playoffs are either already underway or about to get underway. So yeah, enjoy all that. See y'all probably on Sunday for the receivers stuff.
James looking. Ball breaks free. Gets it. 7 seconds. Ball to drive.